Abu Dhabi 2021, the finale to what was arguably the greatest championship battle in F1 history, won by none other than Max Verstappen. It was a controversial end to a controversial season, where the two title contenders fought tooth and nail right down to the final lap of the race. It's been 6 months since I gave my take on the whole fiasco, where I explained how I thought Lewis was robbed of an 8th world title. And I still agree, given that the FIA themselves admitted that the rules weren't implemented correctly. But I also made it clear that Verstappen was a worthy world champion over the course of the season. He showed insane levels of consistency, finishing either first or second in every single race that he completed, bar Hungary. As a rookie, Max's talent was pretty clear to see. I mean, just watching the kid drive back in 2015 told you everything that you needed to know about his future. F1's youngest ever driver became its youngest point scorer, and not too long after, its youngest race winner. It was always a question of when and not if he'd become a world champion. Over the years, he's had a number of ups and downs, but the coming of age season for me was 2019. At that point, I knew Verstappen was ready to fight for a championship, and in 2021, he proved to have the entire package. Speed, consistency, keeping calm under pressure, you name it. Yeah, sure, there were still a few chinks in the armour, but nevertheless, he still had a phenomenal year. This season though, Max has elevated to a completely new level. The man has won 5 out of the last 6 Grand Prix and is approaching the realm of near unstoppable. And the scary thing is, he's just getting started. At just 24 years of age, Verstappen is already one of the most accomplished drivers of all time. He's got a championship under his belt, 26 wins, 15 pole positions, and 67 podiums so far. That's good enough to be considered Hall of Fame worthy. By the time his career is over, we could be talking about this guy as the most successful driver of all time. Now, of course, there's still a long road ahead before we ever get to that point. However, considering this is his 8th year in Formula 1, he's a seasoned veteran at this point, and he's still got another 10 to 15 years ahead of him. Red Bull will need to remain a front-running team throughout his career, but considering how well they've adapted to these new regulations, and the fact that they've got a strong base to build off for the future, I think Max is in pretty safe hands. Let's talk about this season then. Verstappen's title defense started off with a DNF at the Bahrain Grand Prix, which Red Bull later found out was down to a fuel pressure issue. Throughout that race, he was also juggling a couple of issues with brakes and heavy steering, which hindered his chances of taking the fight to Leclerc. Although he did have a few opportunities to overtake, Charles' racecraft was superb, enabling him to regain the lead whenever Max went for a move. It was a thrilling season opener, which saw both drivers go wheel to wheel on a number of occasions. And one thing a lot of people noticed was that Verstappen's approach seemed very different compared to how he raced Hamilton in 2021. It was less erratic and more of a controlled aggression. He most likely would have come home in second had it not been for unreliability, but that's part of the game. Jeddah was a better weekend for him overall. He didn't have the best qualifying, as he ended up 4th, while his teammate put in on pole. But he managed to get ahead of the Mexican through pitting under the safety car, and from there, it was another straight up head-to-head between him and Charles Leclerc. This time around though, Verstappen came out on top, after playing cat and mouse games for DRS with the Monegasque. His ability to learn from the mistakes made on the previous 2 attempts and adapt his approach helped him nick the overtake that led to the race win. For a driver who's renowned for being max attack at all times, Verstappen showed a great deal of patience in this scenario, and it paid off for him. Australia was another race where he was set to finish second to Leclerc, but another DNF cost him more points to his championship rival. And at this point, it was looking like Ferrari's championship to lose. After just 3 races, Max was already 46 points off the championship lead, and it seemed as though unreliability would be their biggest Achilles heel for the rest of the season. But he bounced back in the best way possible in Imola, taking maximum points over the weekend. He took pole on Friday, won the sprint on Saturday by managing his tyres better than Leclerc, who jumped him at the starts, and for the Grand Prix on Sunday, he was faultless throughout, dominating the race from start to finish. Meanwhile, Charles made his first major error of the season by spinning at Variante Alta. This helped reduce the gap in the standings by 19 points in just a single weekend. Miami was another vintage performance from Verstappen, and he took a 3rd consecutive victory at the Spanish Grand Prix after Leclerc suffered failures to both his turbo and MGU-H. Monaco was the first real off weekend for the Dutchman. He never really found a sweet spot with his setup and could only manage P4 in qualifying. However, Ferrari decided that it would be a great idea to shoot themselves in the foot and throw away the race win, enabling Max to come home in 3rd behind Sainz and Checo. In Baku, he gained another 25 points over Leclerc, who suffered another power unit failure. Verstappen managed his tyres better throughout the first stints, enabling him to pass his teammates on lap 15. And since Charles pit under the virtual safety car, his 12.3 second lead meant that Max would have likely had to pass him on track or convert to a one-stop. Either way, it would have been fascinating to see the race develop with Leclerc still in it. Most recently, Verstappen was flawless at the Canadian Grand Prix. His stunning pole lap in the wet was a full 6/10 faster than Fernando Alonso in second. He had the race perfectly under control until the safety car was deployed on lap 49, which gave Sainz an opportunity to pit for fresh hard tyres. With 15 laps to go, Max's defensive skills would be put to the test, with Carlos hunting him down, and in the end, he proved to have the nerve under pressure to keep the Spaniard behind. The Red Bull had much better traction out of the hairpin that day, and the Dutchman used that and its straight line speed advantage to take the victory. Sounds easy, but only because Max made it look that way. He was unflappable, composed, cool-headed, whatever you want to call it. He was not going to make an error, no matter what Sainz threw at him. Now at this point in the season, it's obviously still way too early to make definitive claims that Verstappen has run away with it. We're not even at the halfway stage yet, and so anything could happen. Unreliability could still plague Red Bull. Ferrari could outdevelop them over the course of the season, or better yet, stop making silly mistakes on the pit wall.
Stop the cap!
But anyway, the combo of Max and Red Bull has been so strong thus far, I genuinely don't see anyone stopping them. The F175 has been the quicker car on a Saturday in dry conditions compared to the RB18. Verstappen has often struggled to set up the car in a way that suits his driving style. He's a driver that prefers to drive more on the nose, as they call it. He prefers a car that's more prone to oversteer. It enables him to push the Red Bull closer to the limit, but it's also harder to control. But this year's car hasn't given him that yet. What it has given him though is much better performance during the races, which is the more desirable option given points are dished out on a Sunday. The Red Bull has better straight line speed and is kinder on its tyres compared to the Ferrari, making it a more raceable car overall. But if Red Bull succeeds in eliminating the understeer Verstappen is unhappy with and provide a car which has a more responsive front end, Max will be unstoppable. It's scary to think that just after 9 races, he's already 46 points ahead of his next closest rival, which is his teammate Sergio Perez. Yes, Leclerc's bad luck is certainly exaggerating that gap, and it's important to remember that at one point, Verstappen was in the exact same position. It just goes to show that the script could easily flip back in favour of the Monegasque. But at this moment in time, it's hard to see anyone stopping Verstappen and Red Bull, given the form that they're in. As long as the RB18 remains a fast and reliable car, Max has what it takes to make the difference when it counts. He's displayed that killer instinct to go get a win when it's on the table. He's shown immense levels of consistency and made close to no errors at all. Max Verstappen really is in the form of his life, and what's bad news for the rest of the grid is that it's only just the beginning. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts about Verstappen this season in the comment section below. As always, please like the video if you enjoyed, share it around with your friends, and subscribe to the channel with bell notifications to keep up to date with my latest videos in the future. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.